What's up, mortgage coach community? Dave Savage here, and I'm here with Patrick Lee, just outside of Washington, D.C., Fairfax, Virginia. What's up, Patrick?
Doing great, Dave. How about you?
It's a good time to be in the mortgage business. It's been a good year.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We need more of these years.
Yeah, well, I just finished doing my market update with Dan Rawich, and he predicts another great year next year. He's not saying it's going to be bigger than this year, possibly the third biggest year in the history of the mortgage industry, but he still sees a positive year. So we'll see how that all pans out. But let's just talk about what you're doing, what kind of success you're having in today's market. If you don't mind just describing to everybody in the mortgage coach community what market you're in, what kind of production you're doing, and just describe your team to us.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, sure. So the way that my team is set up is I have two and a half assistants. I'm sharing one of them right now. So over the past couple of years, I've expanded my team so this way I can have more time with speaking with clients and really doing what a loan officer has to do best, which is bringing more leads in to work with. So year-to-date production, we're breaking a record this year. So far, we're at about close to 62 million year-to-date. We just broke a record this month of October, did close to 13 million in fundings. So far, we're on track to do about 150, 160 clients total by year end, and we're projecting about 75 million, give or take.
Well, congratulations on the impact you're providing, doing that kind of volume last month, scaling your team. You are a modern mortgage producer. You use technology effectively. What other technology are you using that's enhancing the consumer experience? I know you're a mortgage coach. I assume you're providing a link to the family at the point of sale. Just describe the technology you're using that's driving the experience that you have.
So the technology that we're using, we have Zoom marketing over here at Union Home. So that's been working out really great.
Sorry about that. We had Alexa jump in and want to join the interview.
No problem. So we've been using Zoom to keep in touch with clients, and we do a really good job at making sure that we're in touch with every client that we work with as well. So on the technology front, just making sure that we stay in front of them at all times. And we have systems in place where we set up to make sure that we touch base with our past clients as well as our referral partners. But primarily as far as presentation tools, I've been a strong mortgage coach believer for close to a decade now, been using the software program. And it's the best thing that's out there, and that's helped me elevate my business over the years, and just a great tool overall to present mortgages for our clients and give full transparency on why they should do it.
So that you may have just answered the question to provide full transparency, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask the question just to see if there's any more to that. But why do you use Mortgage Coach?
So, well, a few reasons. Number one, it definitely differentiates us from the competition. Most of the clients that I talk to, I typically ask them for the feedback. Hey, have you ever seen a report done this way as far as looking at options? And most of the time we're competing against other lenders that are just sending loan estimates out, which is what 99% of the industry, is doing. So some of these small differences with us presenting a report, putting it in charts and graphs. I think there were studies done in the past where the likelihood of someone viewing it is probably 8 times more when you put it together with a visual. So that definitely helps providing the clarity, knowing what the savings are, if it's a refinance transaction or even purchase, how much more is going to cost them over time. And the convenience factor, since a lot of us are working from home these days, where I can just generate a video on the report where if the husband and wife, they're not there at the same time, at least they could view it at any given time and refer back to it. So it's been working out great, especially since we've been at home.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I want to have you show one of your TCAs. Before I do that, I want to just give folks some perspective, because we're coming into the end of 2020. We're preparing for 2021. And no matter whose estimates you look at, we're going to have a good year. So I think the MBA is predicting a 10% increase in purchase business and a significant drop off in refis. Who knows? But we do know that it's a good time to be in the mortgage business. And there is going to probably be less refinance business next year. So there's never been a better time to just fine tune your systems and your technology. So when I got into the mortgage business, I was trained by a mentor that started in the 70s. And I started in the kind of late 80s. But this is how I presented options for my first year in the mortgage business. I mean, I'd ask a client questions, I'd write it on my yellow sheet of paper. I met with a lot of people in person. I often just turned that around and showed it to them. But that was the presentation tool. And then, guys, the 80s came and point of sale came out. That was the invent of the fee worksheet, rate, payment, cash to close. But here is some perspective, guys. A decade went by, no innovation. Another decade went by and a meltdown, very little innovation, except for Mortgage Coach. And we did get the product and pricing engine because it's 2020 and we are just months away from 2021. And the status quo fee worksheet is not the best way. Like what you're seeing on the screen, this is what most loan officers give to families. They might put a logo on it, but it's a disclosure. It's a commodity. It's a status quo fee worksheet. And it does create confusion. It's not the ultimate in clarity and transparency for a family. It is pretty much the ultimate in a commoditized point of sale experience. So I just wanted to give that perspective before we give the stage back to Patrick and just show the contrast of what he's doing. And and I do believe that this is what really differentiates a modern loan officer in 1021. Like I think the industry is all using a link at the point of sale now. That's not an innovation. That's not a differentiator. It's super important and efficient, but giving a link to give the advice and the presentation, that is a differentiator and that is table stakes to being a modern producer. So you answered why. Let's show how you're doing it.
Sure.
And you guys could just see the contrast.
All right, let me share my screen here really quick. Okay, so here's a TCA report that I did recently for a client that actually just ratified into a contract. And the funny part is when this customer was referred to me, I know he's been shopping lenders. He probably talked to maybe 4 or 5 lenders before coming over to me. So one of the first things that I always do is just letting the client know that, hey, we're here for you each step of the way. But more importantly, since this is one of their biggest financial decisions, you want to make sure that they're getting the right advice. And you're right, referring back to how we used to pitch loans. It's really with pen and paper or loan estimates. I still have my notes here, but I definitely don't present that way because it's very unorganized and it is confusing because we forget sometimes people are doing this for the very first time. So this client, for example, he's a first-time home buyer. So of course he's heard about all the different rates that are out there. He's even shopped internet lenders as well. So with this report, this is a purchase report that I did. He had a purchase that he was looking to do for 415,000, and his big thing was, rate, just because it was kind of driven into him. So with this report here, good news is I can show him 4 different scenarios on how he can purchase this home, and also evaluate depending on how long they would plan to keep the property. Looking at their cash to close, the difference in rates, whether or not it's going to be worthwhile for them to, do a rate buy down. So as this consumer is out shopping, where I'm trying to get them is the value, the communication, the service, the long-term aspect of it, but also putting everything in perspective through charts and graphs. So this way he can see all of his options, what's going on. So are there lower rates out there? Absolutely. We can do those as well. The difference is just going to be the difference in costs. And once you provide that clarity and give the advice on what you feel is best for them, as I'm talking to him as if he's my brother, it basically helps seals it, right then and there. But
So there's different types of shopping. There's passive shopping where you don't even know they're shopping, but they're comparing you to, Zillow online. There's active where they're not grinding you, but they're letting you know that I'm shopping. And then there's getting grinded. What percentage of your people are doing sub type of shopping in your mind?
I would say 1 out of every 10 clients, maybe 2 at the most. And that would be, that's going to be after we go over a home mortgage report. But I could tell you if I wasn't presenting this way and creating this extra value, I would probably have a whole lot more shoppers that are out there
Yeah.
and not
Well,
close as much transactions.
right. And remember what he's talking about is grinding. When he says one or two, it's like, hey, active shopping. Everybody looks at other rates. I mean,
Mhm.
it's, heck, you're on Facebook. And if you mentioned mortgage rates are going to start showing up on Facebook. That's just the way social media works and
Yep.
technology works. So everybody's getting different rates. And what he's doing here is he's putting those options in his platform. So he's giving them options. He's letting them know that I have really low rates at higher cost, higher rates at lower cost. And once they pick the loan, they're committed to him. So there's the psychology. What about the total cost? Like with a mortgage coach report, you can not only show the monthly difference, but you can show the difference over different windows of time. Is that something you bring into the conversation with a family?
I do, and a lot of it boils down to budgeting, what's going to be more comfortable for them. So different people have different goals. Some of them may not necessarily be worried about the monthly payment so much, but they're more worried about how much cash they can come up with now. So with these different charts that we're able to put up here, we can adjust this to being 10 years if we wanted to, or 15 years. And then of course you have your long-term, difference in savings as well. So I kind of tailor to the client. I have a separate note system that I'm taking down on what's going to be important for them after being able to dig deep and getting to know the client. And then the report is just, consistently customized for their client depending on what their goals are going to be. Whichever is more sensitive and whatever their trigger points are is what I'm focusing on.
Got it. And again, we call that total cost selling, where you're showing the failing options, you're showing the total cost over time. What do you call the mortgage coach report to a home buyer? Like, do you call it a total cost analysis, or do you have some other creative, personalized name that you use?
Yeah, I call it their customized home loan report. So in the email subject, I'll put down, prepared for Dave Savage, first time home purchase report. So I use many different names for it. And sometimes if they have a house that they're interested in, I could just be posting a picture, click on this picture to view your home loan report. So this way they have that visual in seeing their dream home right then and there, and they're able to see the options that they can finance from. But most of the time, I just put customized home loan report with the client's name, and that's typically how I name it.
And the best practice takeaway there is it's personalized. He's personalizing it to the family, putting their name or the address, whatever's relevant, and he's personalizing it to himself. A lot of people do use our term, total cost analysis, but I have heard countless names. As long as you tailor it to the family and you refer to it in passion and you do it consistently. What percentage of the families that you serve, whether it's a refinance or a purchase, are getting one of these custom home loan reports?
100%. This
That's
is the
another
only, yep, this is the only way that I present.
Yeah, and that's another hallmark. You can't get great at presenting anything unless you do it consistently. Like even the yellow sheet of paper can be okay if you do it consistently.
Yep.
Top producers have consistent processes. This is the best custom process. Well, let's do a quick refi and then let's wrap it up because I want to be cognizant of your time. I know you've got another meeting coming up. Mortgage coach community, if you have questions for Patrick, put them down below. You're watching this in either Facebook or YouTube. If you have questions, let us know. Notice that he went into the advice engine. Patrick, real quick before you leave that, go
Okay.
to settings really quick. I want to just call out, guys. Part of our goal here at Mortgage Coach is to turn you into a black belt with Mortgage Coach. It's to help you crush it, and you are getting pretty close to getting to being a black belt. So check that out, guys. And then notice he's created 247 reports. They've been viewed 1,279 times. So, guys, a lot of it gives that link. A lot of people are clicking on it. All right, let's go back to the TCA that you mentioned, the one that you're going to show.
Yeah, one of my favorite features also too, Dave, is being able to include the realtor on a purchase.
Thanks
This
for
way
calling
they
that
get the
out.
this way they get the notification once the client reviews it if we're adding them on as a referral partner. And that seems to go a long way as well, because I don't think a lot of our competition's doing that either.
Yeah. By the way, did you notice in the upper right hand corner you can click preview? Were you aware of that? I
No,
noticed we Go back to that screen. I want to show you something.
Okay.
Just the fastest way to pull up a report. You see in the upper right-hand corner, you can either add a video or click preview and highlight.
Yep.
When you click preview and highlight, guys, it pulls up the Mortgage Coach TCA, and it's now in a live status so that you can literally, whatever you click on, it's changing for the family. So if you gave them your link, Patrick does that, but he's doing that a different way. I just wanted to call that out for you, Patrick. And I noticed that you're doing this in a linear portrait way. Is this typically how you go through the Mortgage Coach with the client?
It is. It's this way I'm going up and down. I can kind of navigate where to go. Let's go to the next screenshot of it. And since we're doing a lot of Zoom meetings lately as well, it's easy to navigate so they're on the same page instead of having 4 different charts popped up.
Yeah, no problem. I prefer this format too, but we give you guys the ability to put it in either format. Notice in the upper left-hand corner, there's a hamburger menu in the upper left-hand corner where you can switch the view. Also, when you move, whether you're on a mobile device or a computer, it changes. All right, so walk us through a refi. And is this a pretty standard scenario for you?
Yep, this would be a standard scenario. So I had a client that was interested in refinancing. And what he wanted to know was, hey, is it worth it to do? I've talked to people in the past, and I don't know if it's okay for me to refinance or not. So it was really quick. I was actually talking to the client without even taking an application yet, just finding out some of the right questions to ask and getting those answers in. I can create a report pretty quickly. So this customer was actually booked, assuming that the qualifications were the same that we talked about before he even started applying. So this right here, the first column, we're looking at the customer's current situation, existing balance, existing interest rate, and what their total overall payment is. And the few options that we worked up was one was 2.5%. We got the second one at 2.625 and a third one at 2.875. So the 2.875, of course, is going to be less cash that's going to be needed for them to do the loan, simply because there's not as many points to buy down. So what I typically do is I go with the most aggressive option if it looks like it's going to make sense for them to do. And if you notice, the cash at close is more significant. Now, for this particular customer, we wanted to set the loan amount at a specific amount, which is a high cost county loan limit. So in his case, he actually has to bring cash at close. We can't roll everything in. So this guy was thinking about, hey, should I do it? I know if I do it, I'm gonna have to bring money to close. And this is the part where it shows how much he's bringing. So after evaluating the benefit and doing an apples to apples comparison on what kind of difference it'll make on his faster payoff for his mortgage and the overall interest savings, which is going to show down here. Okay, so we identified if he sold his house in 5 years, he would still be ahead of the curve, just making the same exact payment as they're currently paying right now. And the way that I pitch it to the client is, upfront, if you're not going to do anything, you're going to end up just getting stuck with the current mortgage the way it is. So I always do a side-by-side comparison to show them what that difference is going to be, as if they haven't skipped a beat. And over on the long run, it's very powerful. This is the amount of interest they currently have left to go on their existing loan. These are the 3 different options that we worked up. If they only made their minimum payments, how much total interest they're going to pay. And this is if they were to match up their same exact payment today on an apples comparison. So, and after doing this, it makes it a no-brainer. They understand the benefit, and they move right on forward right afterwards.
And that bottom, chart showing the long-term benefit is what made it easy for the client to make a choice. Anything else you want to show on this before we stop sharing and just go into wrap up mode?
No, I think we're pretty good. The closing cost it's very helpful. It breaks everything down. They can see the difference in cash to close, and they can see the difference in the savings. So it just makes the decision, much easier for them to decide. Typically, I narrow it down to 2 options to not confuse them so much. And generally, they'll just go with the advice on what we're, indicating they should do when they see the
Love it.
reports. Yeah.
Love it. So I'm gonna go into wrap up mode for you guys. And this is my mission. I mean, this is why I interview top producers every single week, to help drive the modern mortgage experience. It's better for the family. They can make better decisions that help them build wealth with real estate. They can make better decisions to help them pay off their mortgage faster and become debt free. The fee worksheet creates confusion. The fee worksheet creates commoditization. It's not good for the family. It's not good for the loan officer. And it really comes down to this: just every family, whether it's a purchase or a refi, give them a total cost analysis. It doesn't take more time. The first couple times you do it, maybe the first 10 times you do it, it might take you more time. Let's close out with just that time savings piece and how Mortgage Coach is saving you time in today's market.
It's been tremendous. Mortgage Coach allows you to create templates. So as you're working up scenarios, you can save those particular templates. And a lot of times we're just updating some of the basic title fees. So it's a major time saver to get the type of report that you're wanting to present for your client. So on an average, I would say maybe about 15 minutes it'll take for me to put together a report. When I first started, it did take longer just to get used to everything. But after you have about, a dozen of them under your belt, they start becoming pretty easy. And you can use a report in so many different ways too, which is, one of my favorite parts about it.
Well, Patrick, you are a gift to the Mortgage Coach community. Thank you for all the help at Union Home Mortgage, driving adoption. They have invested in Mortgage Coach as part of your tech stack, and you make a big difference in helping grow adoption. This particular interview is for the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So thank you for giving value to the broader community. Any parting words of wisdom for loan officers who are preparing? What are we, just a couple months closing out the year
Yeah.
and prepping for next year? Any closing words of advice for the community?
Yeah, what has really helped me out is, getting the proper coaching. I talk to high producing people all the time, and it's definitely not rocket science, but you have experienced people that are out there that are closing tons of business. My main goal is just to, pick their brain and really learn from it and come up with my own style. So there's no, one secret sauce that makes it happen. It's more of a combination of everything. Just continue to be willing to grow, continue to be willing to coach and implement feedback from your clients, and be consistent. That's really the key. You got to be consistent on our business in order to make it happen. And don't be afraid to hire. You can only do so much on your own. That's what really helped me catapult my business this particular year.
Well, that was some good closing words of wisdom. I don't care whether you're experienced in this business and it was just a reminder, or you're new to this business. Great words of wisdom. Patrick, thank you very much. Mortgage Coach community, if you got value from this, give it a like, share it with your mortgage friends. For you branch managers, this might be a great interview for watch with your branch, share with someone who you think needs this advice. Patrick, thank you, my friend.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.